The September 5th, 2023 City of Vandalia Council meeting is now called to order. We'll start with a moment of reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Council, you've had an opportunity to review the council special meeting minutes of August 14th, the study session minutes of August 21st, and the council meeting minutes of August 21st. Are there any comments or corrections? Being none, I stand approved. That brings us to communications, petitions, and awards. And we have the introduction and oath of office. I'll defer to Mr. Wendt.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I will take a moment. We're going to swear in one firefighter, paramedic, inspector, and 2 police officers this evening. And as you can tell, they, their families, and much of the Department of Public Safety are here. And so first I'll introduce all 3 of them, and then I'll go up and I'll do the individual swearing in with them and their families. So first, I just ask that Kolton Keener go ahead and stand up. Mr. Keener is a firefighter, paramedic, inspector, full-time on with the Vandalia Division of Fire. Mr. Keener wrote in his cover letter that he wanted to become a firefighter, paramedic, inspector after his father passed away from a pulmonary embolism in the back of his ambulance. And in his letter, he wrote that it woke something up inside of me. And I knew that I wanted to do what I could to prevent the loss of someone else's loved one. And that was something that made me really look forward to meeting him and getting into his interview. Mr. Keener, of course, has been on with the Division of Fire since late last year. He's been at Englewood for a period of time and was a youth specialist at Montgomery County Center for Adolescent Services. He's put some time in at both Edison State and Sinclair, and is from Troy, and so we're glad to bring him aboard, and we'll swear you in a minute. Thank you. Next, I have Kristen Sharon. Kristen, there you are. Kristen lives in Dayton, Ohio. Her professional experience goes into working as a treatment coordinator for a bit of time at the Centerville Dental Center and the Dayton Dental Collaborative. And one of the things that really stood out immediately about her was her commitment and focus on customer service and patient care. And I think it's really easy for us to see those parallels in police work. She's also worked in security as well. She just got out of the Sinclair Police Academy and holds a bachelor's degree from Wright State in criminology and also an associate's of business and criminal justice from Sinclair. And so look forward to swearing her in as well. Thank you, Kristen. Finally, we have Jack Alexander. This is Jack, and Jack has a Bachelor's of Science degree. His grandfather was a Miami County, was a captain with the Miami County Sheriff. And in his cover letter, he wrote that he wanted to help people and be the shield for those who can't defend themselves, like his grandfather was. And so as you get to know this young man who is a gunsmith, has his Bachelor of Science degree, has put himself through the academy, and has held a lot of customer service positions relating to being at Harbor Freight, being at Dunham's, and working at a few other places. Jack also is from Troy, lives in Troy, and look forward to bringing him on as well. So he's on his 3rd day, and he just told me when he got in here that he's already seen a lot, and I'm sure there will be a lot more. So Kolton, I'll ask you to step up here.
We need to start basketball team.
I, Kolton Keener, solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and of the state of Ohio, that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the charter and ordinances of the city of Vandalia, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of firefighter paramedic inspector within the Division of Fire. Welcome to the board. Normally we just have one. We've got something. I, Kristen Sharon, solemnly swear
I, Kristen Sharon, solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws of the United States
and will obey the laws of the United States
and of the state of Ohio,
and of the state of Ohio,
that I will in all respects
that I will in all respects
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the charter
of the charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the city of Vandalia,
of the city of Vandalia,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of police officer
of police officer
within the Division of Police.
within the Division of Police.
Congratulations, officer.
Yeah.
I, Jack Alexander,
I, Jack Alexander,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws of the United States
and obey the laws of the United States
and of the state of Ohio,
and of the state of Ohio,
that I will in all respects
and I will in all respects
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the charter
of the charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the city of Vandalia,
of the city of Vandalia,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of police officer
of police officer
within the Division of Police.
within the Division of Police.
Congratulations, officer. Thank you very much, everybody. Mr. Jeff Hoagland is here from the Dayton Development Coalition. If you're interested in all the good local government stuff we're about to do, you can stay, but now's an okay time to leave too, and we won't be that offended.
All right, now we have the much-anticipated presentation by Mr. Jeff Hoagland, President and CEO of the Dayton Development Coalition. Welcome.
I was wondering if you always have this effect on the crowds, Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Hello. It's good to see you. Well, that's a tough act to follow. And to answer your question, Councilmember Lewis, when I was walking in and saw all the cars, I was like, what did I get myself into tonight? But no, good stuff, great memories. When the city manager was giving the oath, I'm like, gosh, I still remember that. So just great times and good seeing the next crop of young members of our police and fire department come into play. Well, thank you for having me. Dan asked me to come in and give a little regional update on economic development. I do this quite a bit. Now that school's back in session, many councils and counties have asked me to come and just kind of give an update. It's usually a 45 to 60-minute presentation. It will not be that long at all. I remember being kind of on that side, so I'll keep it as short as possible. But stop me if you have any questions. I think you all know what we do from the standpoint of economic development for the region. These are the counties we represent, just as a reminder. We go up into Shelby, All-Glaze County. We go down to, in our metro market, Warren and Butler County. Our Jobs Ohio market is Montgomery County. We go to the Indiana border, and then we go halfway to Columbus into Clark County. So that represents about 1.7 million people in our metro market. A lot of people think, because we're called the Dayton Development Coalition, it's just Dayton, but I think all of you know, and many others, it's a much bigger geographic area. The three things that we focus on at the DDC at the end of the day is economic development, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and then federal advocacy. We work in partnership with the Dayton Chamber. They do the state advocacy. They do a few other things, but those are the three things that we really focus on and try to do it great. The areas, and to the viewers at home, a lot of the things we do are listed on the screen, but we don't do residential. We don't do retail. There's a lot that we don't do. But what we try to do is focus on these key focus areas, focus industries, and from there comes retail and housing, et cetera. So in this region, and in a couple slides, I'll go through kind of some of the ones that are probably the strongest in our region and some that are growing. They kind of go up and down. Some of the other programs that we're working on during COVID, Ohio saw we saw a huge swing. COVID kind of stopped everything for about really only 3 to 4 months, believe it or not, but a lot of new programs were put into place by Jobs Ohio. And one of the advantages Ohio as a state has is the revenue stream. Jobs Ohio is a private nonprofit economic development organization, one of the only in the country like it and funded like it. So during COVID, when the revenues were shrinking for local governments and state and federal governments, the revenue for Jobs Ohio actually grew because it's funded through the state liquor proceeds. So not beer and wine, but through liquor. And there is this is a statistical fact. There's only 2 times when people drink, in good times and bad. But what the numbers show is actually the revenues from Jobs Ohio from liquor proceeds during COVID actually rose. It usually grows about 3 to 4%. It rose almost 16% during COVID. So actually, their money grew, and instead of just sitting on that pot of money, what they did is they invested that into about 12 new programs. These are some of the programs that they invested in: workforce and talent, infrastructure, vibrant communities, small business, economic resiliency. There's a very popular program, the Ohio Sites Improvement Program, to get projects ready to go from if it's building new buildings or as they're putting spec buildings up to get them ready. But Jobs Ohio, when we came out of the pandemic, we were in a position from the standpoint of the onshoring and reshoring, and Ohio really did well, and the Dayton region did extremely well. You can see some of the numbers in front of you. So Jobs Ohio was put into law under Governor Kasich and continues to be extremely strong under Governor DeWine. And you can see the Dayton regions. These are our numbers. The state of Ohio, they usually see about new jobs in the amount of about 25,000 per year. Post-COVID, those numbers have significantly grown. So you can see in 2020, numbers dropped a little bit, but once again, that's kind of without 3 or 4 months of activity. But then as soon as 21 and 22 hit, you can see just in the Dayton region, and this, if you take this and look at the other 5 regions, it really magnifies itself out to how strong Ohio's economy has been doing. This year is actually a little bit slower of a year statewide. I think the economy is the interest rates, the economy, elections coming up next year. There's a lot of companies. Our pipeline is bigger than ever, but companies are kind of hedging and slowing down a little bit on their decision-making process. Let me get into a couple of the to the areas. Just as a snapshot, though, in 2020, this once again gives you kind of geographically a location of some of the companies and the amounts of jobs and capital investment. And that's one of the things statewide we have seen is the capital investment. So a normal good year for us from a capital investment standpoint is if we get close to $1 billion, that's a solid year for our region. In 2022, we were at $5.5 billion. Now, a little over $4 billion of that was Honda, building in out in Fayette County. They are building a $4 billion electric car battery facility, and they're going to outfit the rest of their facilities throughout the state, especially north of here and in Marysville. So they're looking, out for the next 50 years. But you still take that away, we still had over $1 billion in investment, and we had 39 other projects. So we had a really healthy year. 23 year to date. This actually, these numbers are a little bit higher as of last week. We are, 1,100 jobs. Our goal is around 3,000. We have some opportunities to close on a few more projects this year, but our numbers locally and then statewide, it's going to be down this year. And once again, that gets to the fact that companies are just kind of pausing on their decision making, but there's things that we're trying to do. So geographically, this takes us through 2022, but it just shows the diversity we have in geographically. But being at I-70 and 75, where Vandalia is, once again, this location is in a great spot for continued growth into the future. This is the slide that I talked about before. So we have active projects. We have 60-some active projects, and the way we look at it is we get leads. Those leads either go away or they turn into projects, and then the projects we usually try to convert to a win. There's normally, it could take 3 months to 6 months, but those decisions by companies are being slid to the right a little bit. So we're just seeing some hesitation right now. If the interest rates come down, I think we'll see a flurry of activity. But once again, we're ready, the team's ready, the programs are ready, but you can also see some of the areas that are driving the growth in our region. The advanced manufacturing continues to be a very strong one in our region and in the state. Aerospace and aviation, and a lot of this doesn't even pick up the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base work because they're considered in a different code, but that continues to be strong. Automotive, IT, and cyber is one that continues to grow. Food and science, agriculture, more up north is still continues to be strong. But then you can see the active leads. So we have projects and then we have active leads. So we have a really strong pipeline. And once again, this is very similar statewide, but we are in there working with the companies every single day, trying to get them to make their decision. From the standpoint of site selection, these are just some stats, and we work very closely with Amber and with the team and with Dan on projects. And so as companies are looking statewide, sometimes they go in through Jobs Ohio, and then they look out through the 6 regions to see what we have, and we tell them what we have. Sometimes those projects come straight into us. Sometimes they come from the local governments. They then come to us, and then we work it kind of upward. So it kind of goes up and down, works out really well. But once again, this breaks everything down into the sectors. But we have, once again, a lot of projects, and these are the site selections that we see. There is no favoritism towards Cleveland, to Toledo, to Dayton, or Cincinnati. It's really, at the end of the day, who has the best sites, who has the best building, who has the workforce, and that's a key issue that everyone in the country is really grappling with right now. So once again, by sector. So these are site searches by sector. You can see some of the areas that I'd mentioned before. Automotive is still strong, but the information services is one that continues to grow. Advanced manufacturing is still strong. Healthcare, that one's, a little bit, it's a small one. Aerospace and aviation, it shows it being small, but we have a 10th sector. It's the federal and military sector that was added a few years ago to the 9, now 10 sectors. That gets picked up in there as well, but that one usually takes a little bit longer. And then acreage. So having the sites is one of the things, especially post-COVID, that we have found to be, very important and critical statewide. And in the last really 3 years, what's been, I think, very successful for Ohio is having the acreage available, having it zoned properly. Really not, back in the day, it was you had to have the utilities there. That's really, it's important, but it's not as strong when you're dealing with the mega sites, because when you're dealing with the mega sites, so I had mentioned the Honda project. So that sits on a mega site, 2,500 acre site in Fayette County. We've been trying to get companies to go there for, before I came to the coalition. And it was so expensive to run the utilities to that site that it just wasn't affordable. Well, when a Honda LG comes to the table, and they're going to invest $4 billion. The numbers start to make sense, and working with our gas and our electric companies, running the roads, the water, the sewer, et cetera, it makes sense. So the Honda facility, and this puts it in kind of layman terms, like I need it explained to me, it's going to be the size of 76 football fields. That's how big the facility is. So when I heard that analogy, I was like, okay, that is huge. I can understand it, but I can't wait to see what it looks like. But if anybody's driven out there recently, there are more cranes at that site than I've seen my entire career at a site. But the land was there. The utilities were, close enough, but a size of that magnitude. And Intel was the same way. You can never have utilities ready to go for a project the scope of a $20 billion investment like the one in New Albany. But they had the land that was ready, and we're seeing this up north. So Sydney, Ohio, Semcor is building a $1 billion electric car battery facility. They'll be a supplier to the electric car industry, but they had the acreage available. So what we're doing here in our region and every other region is doing is they are trying to just make sure we have the sites available for some of these bigger type of uses that are coming through. Talked about Honda, so 2,500 jobs. Sierra Nevada, this is another one that's of I think, huge interest and has a lot of opportunities. This is an Air Force related company, so a lot of people hear Sierra Nevada, they think of the beer company. And I tell them, unfortunately, no, we're working on that one, though. But Sierra Nevada, they're in the air and space side of things, headquartered in Nevada. and they have huge contracts at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and they were looking to open up another hangar. They have about 12 out in the Colorado Springs area. They wanted to diversify in case there was a natural catastrophe or something bad happened. So we had been working with them, and we found them the land, and obviously they needed a runway because they bring planes that fly in, but we were able to work with the city, with the airport, and with the company. They're underway with their second hangar. They're going to be building, up to 5 hangars. If they win a few contracts with the Air Force, a couple bigger ones, there could be a lot more that get built out there. But these are high-quality jobs. The interesting thing about this project is it's the first time this region has had military aircraft operations, manufacturing type of work, MRO type of work outside of the fence since World War II in Dayton. So we're seeing the proximity to Wright-Patt. There is a value proposition to being close to your customer. That's what we're seeing. But once again, they had the land that was available. This is a project that you guys are familiar with. It's out on Stone Quarry Crossings, and we're seeing this being done statewide. We're seeing companies building spec buildings, which I think is very important. This is a huge project, but one that puts the city of Vandalia and other cities, it puts you in the game. It allows a company right away, because sometimes the companies need to move, and they need to move quickly. And if we tell them we've got a building, then it gets added to the list. When buildings or land aren't available, then we just kind of go to the next. But this is I'm looking forward to this being filled up as a resident here as well, and seeing some of the tax revenues come from it. But that's a very important piece of property, and those types of projects are happening and statewide. But our competition is Indiana, our competition is Kentucky, our competition is not as much Michigan, that's more Toledo's competition, and then Pennsylvania is more, to the east. But really, we compete against Indiana and Kentucky for some of the bigger projects. Just real quick on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, just kind of a reminder, the state's largest single-site employer. They were, before the BRAC, there was about 19,000 employees at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. We just crossed the 35,000 employees at this site. That doesn't count the work going outside the fence. So it has a $16.4 billion annual economic impact to this region, which draws and helps, with the housing and the retail and everything else that goes with it. But we also see, tons of development that is coming around it. The missions at Wright-Patt continue to grow, and with what China continues to do, on the other side of the world, more and more of those missions are running through Wright-Patt. We've got the research lab here. We've got the multiple intelligence offices here. We have the life cycle management that does all the procurement for the Air Force, from shoelaces to the new B-21. It's all happening here, and it's growing significantly. And a lot of the residents that work on base live here, and we just need to make sure that we're continuing to protect them. I could see Wright-Patt growing to 45,000, 50,000 in the next 10 years very easily, as long as we continue to work with our congressional delegation and make sure that the Air Force and now Space Force understands, why Wright-Patt is the intellectual capital of the United States Air Force. So that continues to go well. And then one of the last slides is the advocacy side of things that we do. And your team has been there for many years. I remember going when I worked for the city to the Dayton Development Coalition's fly-in, but it's a way for the region to come together to submit projects for earmarks or plus-ups or whatever phrase they use for them now. But there's a lot of federal dollars that are still out there. There's a lot of state dollars. There's a state capital budget that will be taking place in '24. Our PDAC process actually starts, it actually opens next week. We have some webinars and a few other things to get the process going. But each year we continue to have record numbers of applications on the state and federal side. And then our next April, May is when our next fly-in will be. But once again, a great way for the community to come together, speak with one voice, and give our projects to our state legislature and then our federal legislature. So that's my 50-minute presentation, kind of boiled down in about 15. Now I'll take a breath and would love to hear what you all have to say or answer any questions you may have.
All right. Any
Thank you
questions?
for the optimism. Thanks for looking up.
Jeff, I had a question for you. And you kind of alluded to it in your presentation that
some of the speculative buildings have slowed down a little bit, just with the economy and everything else. But that you also mentioned that you expect, if the economy rebounds, that will kind of be ripe for more in the area. Do you have an idea of those speculative buildings, how many of those end up being more manufacturing versus just warehousing in the region?
Yeah, well, in our region, a lot of them, because of I-70, 75, is logistics and distribution. But we are working, well, there's some light manufacturing. We're seeing the manufacturing side of things pick up. We have a couple projects that we're actively working on that are in the manufacturing side of things. So high-paying jobs, probably a lot of overtime with it, a lot of more activity on the site, less trucks. So we're seeing that, but I think because of our location geographically, we're going to continue to see the logistics and distribution side of it. Columbus sees it a little bit. Cincinnati sees a lot of it as well, especially in northern Kentucky as well. Toledo sees a little bit of it because they go north and south as well. But from the standpoint of the manufacturing versus the logistics and distribution, it also comes to a supply and demand. I mean, we're at a point where I think we're saturated. There might be room for a little bit more, but the employees and what's happening with that is, I think you all know firsthand, is some of the companies are just, if you're paying a little bit more, they're going to go to the other company. So, as I look out into the future, the Amazons of the world, I don't see a lot more of the 1 million square foot facilities going up right now. We're actually kind of starting to see a pullback nationally of that. And that's why we're trying to focus on some of the manufacturing. And that's one of our big areas. And as I showed you earlier, that's a real focus of and it's in Dayton's DNA. That's what we did for a century in Ohio as well. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that into the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Great.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always good to see you. And, I got like a 7-minute drive home, so it makes it even easier. So thank you. Good to see you all.
All right, thanks.
All right, we have no public hearing, and that brings us to comments from interested citizens. So if anyone would like to make a comment, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and your comments. Being none, we'll move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Wendt?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. In our most recent blue letter, I enclosed a letter from Chief Christ from the Harrison Township Fire Department, and on August 27th, Public Works crews were called out to assist them with an emergency that it was a rather bad scene where somebody had passed away while they were working on cutting out a tree, and so our Public Works crews assisted with that. And of course, that letter was to recognize their work on a very tough scene and helping keep the rest of the Harrison Township staff safe as well. And so I just wanted to point that out. We have large debris drop-off Saturday, September 9th. And that is from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Public Works Garage. Of course, proof of residency is required. We have our fall retreat on Monday, September 11th. That'll be in the Justice Center in the community room, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Of course, if there are items that you would like to discuss, please do let me know. I plan on having binders or information, whether electronically or in hard copy, to you at the end of the week. We, of course, have been working hard on the 2024 operating maintenance capital revitalization budgets. We established, of course, council established 2 budget workshops to be held at the Justice Center in the community room. The first one will take place at 2 p.m. on Thursday, September 14th, followed by Monday, September 18th, 2023. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. We have no action items, nor do we have any old business. And that brings us to our first resolution of the evening, that being Resolution 23-R-54. Mr. McDonald, by title only.
A resolution awarding the bid for refuse and recycling collection in the city of Vandalia for calendar years 2024 through 2028, requested by the Development and Engineering Services Department to Rumpke Waste and Recycling at their proposed cost as the lowest and best bidder.
Thank you. Mr. Wendt?
Thank you, Your Honor. Public bid for our refuse and recycling collection was advertised in the Dayton Daily News on June 22nd, 2023, and June 29th, 2023. Bids were to be received at 11 a.m., by 11 a.m. on July 28th, 2023. Bids were publicly opened at 11 a.m. on the 28th, with Rumpke Waste and Recycling submitting the lone bid. Director Cron has had several conversations and correspondence with Republic Services about the bid package, but they ultimately submitted a letter of no bid. In this year's bid package, the one item that was amended from the previous services provided is that every resident will now have a 65-gallon tote provided by the contract awardee for recycling materials instead of the 18-gallon bins that we are currently using. Director Cron is recommending that the City of Vandalia enter into a 5-year contract as proposed in our bid documents, with the option to extend for 2 additional years if agreed upon by both parties at the submitted costs in Rumpke's bid proposal. Their submitted prices indicated a 5% each increase each year of the contract.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 23-R-54.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Ayers and a second by Councilman Follick to approve Resolution 23-R-54 as presented. Are there any comments?
I just have one real quick, and that is, I know that the prices are going up. The prices are going up for everything in our society right now. And I know that, I think we've maximized the current contract as long as we could. So this is just kind of a natural rotation. It's been 7 years since we last quoted this. I did just quickly look at 2 of our neighboring cities and found that even our proposed rates were within $1 of both of our neighboring cities. And one of those cities only collects recycling every other week. So you have to keep track of that and decide which week you're putting your recycling out and which week you're not. So, I think it's still, even though it's a price increase, I think we're still competitive with our neighboring communities, and the residents are still getting a value for the service that Rumpke has continued to provide us for years.
Thank you. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Follick?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Woods?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes.
Mayor Herbst?
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Next, we have Resolution 23-R-55.
A resolution awarding the bid for the Clyde Place and Cyril Court reconstruction project requested by the Public Works Department to Milcon Concrete, Inc. at the lowest and best bid price of $796,514.80.
Thank you. Mr. Wendt?
Your Honor, sealed bids were publicly opened for the Clyde and Cyril Court reconstruction project on Tuesday, August 15th, 2023 at 11 a.m. 12 sets of specifications were purchased by contractors. All 12 contractors submitted bids for the project. Bids range from $796,514.08 to $1,238,697. The City of Vandalia has $893,000 appropriated in the 2023 capital improvement budget for this project out of various funds, including safe and stable water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer. The city has been awarded grant funding in the amount of $400,000 from the Ohio Public Works Commission for this project. Director Cron is recommending that the bid be awarded to Milcon Concrete, Inc. as the lowest and best bidder at their bid price of $796,514.08. The city has completed the engineering and design work for the project in-house, as a cost savings and to assist in our chance of funding.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve Resolution 23R55.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Blakesley and a second by Councilwoman Fairst to approve Resolution 23-R-55 as presented. Are there any comments from council? Call the roll.
Councilmember Pollak?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Woods?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes.
Mayor Herbst?
Yes, and the motion carries 7-0. Next, we have Resolution 23-R-56.
A resolution consenting and authorizing cooperation with Ohio Department of Transportation regarding ODOT project replacing bridge expansion joints on US Route 40, SLM 14.333, SFN 5703409, being ODOT project PID number 114941.
Thank you. Mr. Wendt?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Ohio Department of Transportation, District 7, has the project PID 114941 scheduled to sell in fiscal year 2025. That would make repairs to several bridges throughout District 7. One of the bridges that the work will be performed on is the US 40 bridge over airport access. They will replace the expansion joint material on the bridge. Since the bridge falls within our jurisdiction, they were asking for approval of a resolution of consent for them to perform this work. The city will have no cost for the work. This is just allowing them to perform the work within the city.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 23-R-56.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Fairst and a second by Councilman Ehlers to approve Resolution 23-R-56 as presented. Are there any comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Woods?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Pollak?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes.
Mayor Herbst?
Yes, the motion passes 7-0. Next, we have Resolution 23-R-57.
A resolution authorizing the purchase of water meters and related parts by the Public Works Department from Buckeye State Pipe and Supply Company, Inc., at a cost not to exceed $500,000.
Thank you. Mr. Wendt?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Public Works crews have nearly completed the installation of the new ultrasonic meters that we have in stock. Those 700 meters were ordered in 2022 and were delivered in April of this year. In April, we ordered another 1,000 meters. The original lead time on those meters and cellular endpoints was 5 months, but we are notified that the order is not expected to be delivered until late December. Last year, we vetted our options of water meter replacements. We decided to move forward with replacing our current meters with Badger E-Series ultrasonic meters that will read through a cellular network directly into our current beacon software. The current meters continue to fail at a rapid pace. Since the lead time has been extended, I'm recommending that we go ahead and place another order now of the Badger E-Series ultrasonic meters from Buckeye State Pipe and Supply Company, Incorporated, for an amount not to exceed $500,000. An additional $250,000 has been appropriated in the Water Fund and Sanitary Sewer Fund to cover the cost of approximately 1,300 more residential meters and appurtenances.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
Your Honor, I'll move to approve Resolution 23R57 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Pollak and a second by Councilman Blakesley to approve Resolution 23-R-57 as presented. Are there any comments?
I was curious if we know, and I failed to ask Mr. Cron, how many more of these we're going to need? We have, what, 7,000 residences in the city?
I think there are about 5,700 meters in the system, and so that'll bring us quite a few on hand. We'll still have an additional order that we will propose in the 2024 budget to make an order at some point. One of the things that we want to do is, once we get the meter, we want to have it installed within 6 months, because that's when we start to get charged for the wireless access. And so, Rob, how many will that leave us that we need to get after that?
After I place this order tonight, that would be 3,000 meters. So we would need about
3,000 and then an additional 2,700 eventually.
And we won't pay for these, though, until we get delivery, or do we have to pay for them up front? Okay. So up into 24, hopefully.
And so, I know Mr. Crum mentioned it, are we planning to buy the balance in 2024 before the price goes up? Or would we not be able to install that many?
No, we plan to buy another 1,300 next year, which will get us, getting pretty close there. There's about, you can say, 500 to 600 larger meters, like commercial meters and that type of thing. We're kind of holding off on those till the end unless there's a need for those.
All right, call the roll.
Councilmember Ayers,
Yes.
Councilmember Woods,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Follak,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Herbst.
Yes, the motion carries 7-0. Next, we have Resolution 23-R-58.
A resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 rooftop heating, ventilation, and air conditioning units for Fire Station 2.
Thank you. Mr. Wendt?
During a recent service call, the Division of Fire's heating and air conditioning vendor noted that the 2 rooftop HVAC units at Station 2 were at the end of their serviceable life and recommended that they be replaced. AMS has provided us with a replacement cost that we feel is good considering the current economy and other costs, as well as the price that was provided by LJB in the facility condition assessment. The Division of Fire is requesting a one-time supplemental budget increase that will fold into the next, one-time supplemental budget increase, $22,354 to replace the 2 rooftop units. The work will be conducted by AMS of Dayton. Our current HVAC maintenance provider pricing is based on our current maintenance agreement. And this is just authorizing the purchase.
I thought the purchase price was 32. That's the number that sticks in my head, not 22.
No, 32 was for the grant. thing.
32 and
I did the
22 was
exact
the
same
opposite.
thing in the
Okay,
study
very
session.
good.
Yep.
Stand corrected.
All right, thank you. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve Resolution 23R58.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Blakesley and a second by Councilwoman Fairst to approve Resolution 23-R-58 as presented. Are there any comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Woods,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Follak,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Herbst.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. We have no ordinances in their first or second reading. However, we do have one emergency ordinance, that being Emergency Ordinance 23-22. Mr. McDonald.
An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $6 million for the purpose of paying the cost of improving the municipal public transportation system, including National Road and Dogleg Road, by constructing, reconstructing, extending, opening, widening, grading, draining, curbing, paving, and resurfacing, and site preparation, installing stormwater, sanitary sewer, and water improvements, and acquiring any necessary interest in real property, together with all incidental work and related appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Wendt?
Thank you, Your Honor. This legislation is for debt issuance regarding extending water and wastewater utilities. This is the Dogleg Road Phase 2 extension to the area that is west of Dogleg Road out to the driving range, which is the municipal corporate limits. This legislation is written not to exceed $6 million. The engineer's estimate came in, and we've done some value engineering and have been figured out, we've been able to figure out ways to get that run without necessarily being under the roadway in portions of National Road. And so that estimate has come back at approximately $3,010,150, which is considerably lower. I think that given our experience in our last portion of the project in Phase 1, we ran into some issues with rock that was settled didn't necessarily come up in our initial borings, and so to plan for contingencies, I would ask to issue bonds that are no more than $4 million for the phase of this project. Debt service for this project will likely be paid from infrastructure fees, tax increment financing associated with development over time, and of course, utility revenues. The project's not likely to result in direct general fund expenditures. To date, I'll just put this out here, we have finance reports, $147,425 that we've incurred in design survey fees related to development and engineering services, plus the costs for bond counsel and the debt issuance. I would point out that given the Vice Mayor's remarks relating last council meeting, we went ahead and reached out to bond counsel. They've indicated that if council would like to take time to consider this matter in totality with the whole budget and understand the future debt schedule, that can be done. If council would like to forward this, that's great. We still don't have to post the bid. There are several ways in which we could delay, but I don't think that it'll be of substantial cost to the city if council chooses to table this pending our discussions in our retreat, our budget hearings that we have coming up, and having an understanding for the total debt service picture and how we factored these in to our utility rate increases that were passed last year.
So there's no prejudice in terms of the time of the issuance other than the 30-day delay in essence, or the ultimate cost of the bonds if we delay for our budget meetings and or to further discussion?
It's my understanding that we don't anticipate a substantial increase, and that there's a period of time that it would be okay if it were, for the next month or two.
Very well.
All right. Since this is an emergency ordinance, I'll open a public hearing, so if anyone would like to comment on this ordinance, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and any comment you may have. Being none, I'll close the public hearing. Can I have a motion?
Your Honor, I'll move that we table ordinance 2322 as an emergency.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Lewis and a second by Councilwoman Farst to table ordinance 23-22 as an emergency. Any comments from council? Call the roll.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Pollak,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Woods,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Herbst.
Yes, the motion passes 7-0. That brings us to reports from boards and commissions, where we have a variance request at 863 Poole Avenue. Mr. Wendt?
Thank you, Your Honor. The applicant Maureen Tweed has requested a variance to allow construction of a shed that would cause the total area of all accessory structures to exceed 4% of the total lot area and 40% of the principal building footprint, which is 502 square foot, a 502 square foot maximum. For the property located at 863 Poole Ave, the applicant has proposed adding 160 square foot shed to the rear of her property. There is an existing 642 square foot detached garage and 90 square foot shed. The 90 square foot shed would be removed on July 26, 2023. BCA voted 5-0 to table the variance to the August 9th meeting date. On August 9th, BZA issued a split vote of 2-2.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
Your Honor, I'll move that we approve the variance at 863 Poole Avenue.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Lewis and a second by Councilman Pollak to approve the variance at 863 Poole Avenue. Call the roll.
Councilmember Pollak,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Woods,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Herbst.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Next, we have a variance at 165 Dixie Drive, North Dixie Drive.
Thank you, Your Honor. The applicant Advantage Plumbing and Drain Solutions has requested a variance to exceed the maximum impervious surface coverage requirement on the property located at 165 North Dixie Drive. The total amount of impervious surface coverage is roughly 96%, exceeding the maximum allowed coverage by 16%. The applicant has proposed adding a new perimeter landscaping and screening to the site to decrease the total amount of impervious surface. On the July 26, 2023 BZA voted 5-0 to recommend approval.
Thank you. Have a motion?
Actually, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
For staff? The proposed perimeter landscaping, is that what's required by code and not that the applicant is proposing? Is that what's required by code? Or does it need to be a condition of, there were several landscaping around the perimeter of the back of the property?
Yeah, so it's my understanding that the applicant is proposing some landscaping, but maybe not necessarily, they're proposing some landscaping as a part of it, the perimeter screening, or not the perimeter screening, excuse me. Because there's not a variance on here for that, I apologize, but I'm assuming that they're meeting the perimeter landscaping requirement.
Well, when I spoke to him, he said he planned to do the landscaping inside the fence that is dividing him from the airport property.
Yes.
At the rear of his property. So he's going to pull up that impervious surface on the airport property and then put the landscaping in there. And
But there was also landscaping on a hand-drawn, can't find it at the time, under site plan on the north side and the south side. I'm assuming that's required by code?
Is that
Yes.
the right-of-way screening?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah, the right-of-way screening is a separate issue. The perimeter, yes, and you can see that site plan on the next issue, but yes, it is shown on the north and south
Okay.
property
And the code
lines.
requires that?
Yes.
Okay, that's all, thank you. Your Honor, I'll move to approve the variance at 165 North Dixie Drive for the impervious surface area.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Follick and a second by Councilman Blakesley to approve the variance at 165 North Dixie Drive for the impervious surface. Any comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Woods,
yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Follick,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Herbst.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Next, we have a variance at 165 North Dixie Drive for the second curb opening.
The applicant, Advantage Plumbing and Drain Solutions, has requested a variance to allow a second curb opening on the same street frontage on the property located at 165 North Dixie. The applicant has proposed keeping the second curb opening. On July 26, 2023, the Board of Zoning Appeals voted 5-0 to recommend approval.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I move that we approve the variance at 165 North Dixie Drive for the second curb opening.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Ehlers and a second by Councilwoman Woods to approve the variance at 165 North Dixie Drive for the second curb opening. Are there any comments from council? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ehlers,
Yes.
Councilmember Woods,
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley,
Yes.
Councilmember Follick,
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis,
Yes.
Mayor Herbst.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. And next, we have a variance again at 165 North Dixie Drive, and this is for the right-of-way screening. Mr. Wendt?
The applicant, Advantage Plumbing and Drain Solutions, has requested a variance from right-of-way screening, the requirement on the property located at 165 North Dixie Drive. The applicant has proposed cleaning up the screening part of the vehicular use area. On July 26, 2023, the Board of Zoning Appeals voted 5-0 to recommend approval with one condition, which is that the planning area shall remain the same size and shall be filled in with river rock.
All right, thank you. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve variance at 165 North Dixie, Vantage Plumbing for the right-of-way screening.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Blakesley and a second by Vice Mayor Lewis to approve the variance 165 North Dixie Drive for the right-of-way screening, also with the condition as noted. Any comments? Call the roll.
I do have one comment.
Sure.
I believe the condition as noted is requiring river rock, which is prohibited by our code. So we'd basically be approving a condition that's not permitted under our code. So I would say I have no problem with the variance, but I think on the aspect of filling with the river rock, that it needs to be filled with something that would be compliant with the code. And so I would ask an amendment be made to the.
I'll amend my motion to that effect, that it will be in compliance.
So I have a motion from Councilman Blakesley and a second by Vice Mayor Lewis to approve the variance on that condition.
River Rock-esque.
River rock-esque.
Okay, call the roll.
Councilmember Woods?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Follak?
No.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes.
Mayor Herbst?
Yes, and the motion passes 6-1. I believe there was 6-1 with it? Yeah. I thought I heard.
Yep.
All right, next we have a variance at 721 Stone Quarry Road for a third accessory structure. Mr. Wendt?
Thank you, Your Honor. The applicant, Michael Wagner, has requested a variance to allow the construction of a shed that would cause the property to exceed the maximum number of accessory structures and cause the total area of all accessory structures to exceed 40% of the principal building footprint, which is 600 square foot maximum. On the property located at 721 Stone Quarry Road, the applicant has proposed adding a 220 square foot shed to his rear yard. There is an existing 200 square foot shed and a 1,200 square foot detached garage. On the August 9th, 2023 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, the BZA issued a split vote of 2-2.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
Your Honor, I'll move to approve the variance at 721 Stone Quarry Road for the third accessory structure.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Follak and a second by Vice Mayor Lewis to approve the variance at 721 Stone Quarry Road for the third accessory structure. Are there any comments?
Just quickly, and this is kind of for all of them tonight, but I wanted to first thank all three applicants because I think for the first time in quite a while, we've had applicants that have come through the process the way it's intended and before they start doing work, and it's not a asking for forgiveness later type of thing. So I think that has a lot of merit. And, you know, when I looked at this, I mean, this specific one, yes, it's a big ask, but the size of the lot, the use of the request, and then when you look at an adjacent property directly behind the applicant, you know, which on a much smaller lot, there's clearly three accessory uses behind them on a smaller lot, and an adjacent lot, same thing. So I think, you know, it's a reasonable request based on the circumstances and the size of the applicant's lot.
And there's a parking lot next door.
All right, any other comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Councilmember Follak?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ehlers?
Yes.
Councilmember Woods?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes.
Mayor Herbst?
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Council, you've got the Planning Commission meeting minutes of June 13th, 2023. Are there any comments? Being none, I stand approved, and that brings us to council comments, and we'll begin with Mr. McDonald.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Mr. Wendt?
Just two things, Your Honor. The first is that in the blue letter, I included, and I think you have on the dais, a QR code for the Vandalia Division of Fire Breast Cancer T-shirt, Fighting for a Cure. All profits will be donated to the Breast Wishes Foundation. The other item is that I would respectfully request an executive session to discuss with the city's attorney pending or imminent court action, and also to discuss certain personnel matters. That's all my comments.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Sorry?
Mr. Wendt made a motion, or a recommendation to go into executive session. After council comments, we're just going to go ahead and do the vote now. Just-
Okay, well, I think, Mr. Lewis, did you say so moved? I'm sorry, somebody did.
Second.
And, okay.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Follak?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Woods?
Yes.
Councilmember Blakesley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lewis?
Yes.
Mayor Herbst?
Yes, and motion carries 7-0. All right, anything else, Mr. Wendt, or was that all?
No, sir.
Okay. Councilman Ayers,
No comments, thank you.
Councilwoman Fairst,
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Councilman Pollack.
A question for the city manager. Can we, I know that you talked about the large item pickup at Public Works this Saturday. Can we also make sure we advertise the county is doing, I think they do it twice a year, but the tire disposal on September 17th?
Yes.
Residents have the ability to go do that and get paid for it. And then also just an observation or a comment. I was at Helke Park yesterday for a family reunion. The playground is looking amazing. It's quite large. So I'm looking forward to seeing the end result. And also, I know it's a multi-year thing, but the new picnic tables are a great improvement over the old picnic tables. So I'm looking forward to seeing those continue on and getting the rest of that built out. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Blakesley.
Yes, earlier I didn't get an opportunity to mention that I've got a scheduling conflict with the budget workshops. I was going to send out an email, get with Mr. Wendt on that.
Sure.
And see what we can work out. Secondly, the Oktoberfest is happening this weekend, Friday, September 8th, 6 to midnight, and Saturday, the 9th, noon to midnight. And come on out and enjoy.
All right,
That's
thank
all I
you.
have. Thank you.
Councilwoman Woods.
Nothing this evening.
Vice Mayor Lewis.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
And I think everybody's touched on the comments I had, so I will not have any further comments tonight.